Welcome to The Scoop with Dukes. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, a.k.a. Dukes The Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes The Scoop. And please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. This is the AU Scoop. Make sure you go become a member. If possible, look in the description. You'll see the link to become a member. But this is the AU Scoop. And today we are going to talk about the Auburn UGA game. All right. What's so interesting about this game is that I think people know the secret is out. There's some magic in Jordan-Hare at night. And for Georgia to be as ranked as highly as they are, with their only loss coming to Alabama, they have a big win against Tennessee on the road. They're only 3.5-point favorites right now. The spread has been decreasing. Like earlier in the season, it was like 7. You know, when you get those really future spreads, and it was higher. And started out 4.5, and it's 3.5. And right now, I think a lot of the action, people, I think right now the casual bettor will see Georgia versus Auburn. Guys just walking around Vegas and say that's a gimme. Georgia by 3.5, that's a gimme. In the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. I think I understand why this spread is like that, and I believe this is going to be a tough game for Georgia. I believe Auburn has a real shot to win this game. This is going to be a battle. I'm just looking at the Georgias of the past versus the Georgias of now. And I'm looking at the Auburns of the past, and I'm looking at roster-wise. Georgia still has a ton of talent. But I think the last two recruiting classes have closed the gap. Really three, if you want to count Keldrick Faulk's class, because Keldrick Faulk may be the best defensive lineman that Georgia has seen all year. And I think Vegas is taking that into account. This probably top to bottom. I mean, Alabama has a good defensive line, but I think Auburn probably I think Auburn's may be better or at least equal. I mean, LT Overton versus Keldrick Faulk. I think when you look at high-end talent, what Keyron Crawford is doing this year, I think right now this probably is the best defensive line Georgia has seen with the inexperienced offensive line. Not that they aren't good. I think Georgia does have some good players. They're good up front. They're just young. Juan Gaston and Dontrell Glover, guys I'm very familiar with. They're just young. Bo Hughley played left tackle the other day. This first year starting, so they're just a young team, not really experienced, not the experienced offensive lines that you've seen from Georgia as in years past. So I think that's why the spread is like it is. Matter of fact, let's go check it out. Let me make sure I'm still right. We're going to go over to mybookie.ag real quick. And if you have not signed up for mybookie.ag yet, go to mybookie.ag, sign up. I think your first bet is on them. And you can use my code DSCOOP, the letter DSCOOP, when you sign up. And your first bet is on, and they match your money. So up to $500 they're matching. All right, here we go right here. Auburn, Georgia, 7:30 game. Georgia's only favored by 3.5 points. The over-under is 47. So that's telling you that they're expecting the game to be around like 25, 22, 26, 22 if you're going to count the whole 4 points if the game goes in their favor. But really, that's kind of like 25.5 to 1.5 or something like that. But basically like a 24 to 21 game, or if you're looking at it and if you're going to under, if you go over the over, it's like a 27, 24 or like a 25, 22 game. 25, 22, somewhere in there. But basically, 3 touchdowns and the difference being 3 touchdowns for each team and the difference being a field goal is how Vegas is seeing that, or how they want us to see it. All right. When I watched Georgia against Kentucky last week, I saw a team that out rostered Kentucky. Kentucky just didn't have the horses. I saw some I saw Gunnar Stockton throw 2 interceptions. I saw Georgia run the ball 44 times. Basically, traditional Georgia football. Lean, 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 hit you with a big one over the top. Play defense. Throw the quick game to Zach Branch. You're going to see it. Corner's going to have to tackle. I think this is one of this like it matches up well for what Auburn wants to do defensively. When you've got corners who like to come up and tackle, and Jay Crawford and Ken Lee, very physical corners, this kind of bodes in their favor. Defensive line, keeping, and then Gunnar Stockton likes to run the ball. You've got a guy like Xavier Atkins who can spy him if need be. You got a DeMarcus Riddick who can spy if you want to leave. If you want to blitz Atkins, Keyron Crawford, he's basically kind of like the not undersized, but kind of the leverage edge rusher who's able to get under those bigger offensive linemen, and he's been very productive this year. As always, I think right now the key to this game is going to be the tight end play and the safeties. That matchup between Georgia's tight ends, you saw Oscar Delp get off. He was flying. So Georgia's still good in the tight end room. I think defensively, if this was just Auburn's defense versus Georgia's offense, and that's how the game went, I'd bet Auburn all day long. I would say Auburn wins. I would. But that's not the entirety of the game. It's Georgia's defense versus Auburn's offense as well. Georgia held Kentucky to like 40-something yards on 22 carries, like 2 yards a carry. Kentucky's they're not as dominant. They're not as good as up front as they've been in recent years running the ball. They're not. Auburn's had some issues when it comes to pass blocking. I think this is a game where you have to establish the run. You just did not run the ball last game, and they just pinned their ears back and they got after it. And we've seen whether it be Jackson Arnold holding the ball or offensive lineman holding defensive linemen, the passing game needs to be complemented by the run game, and Auburn is a much better run blocking team than they are a pass blocking team. I'm pretty sure if you go to Pro Football Focus, you'll find the stats that you need to corroborate that. I could do it, but I'll probably do that. We'll do a Pro Football Focus review. But at where we are right now, Auburn they have to figure out how to run the ball. We saw it against Baylor, and we haven't seen it again. 16 carries for Cobb, 16 carries for Damari Austin. I think Damari Austin is as close to healthy as he's been all year. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets to start against Georgia. That being said, you've got to get the run and stick to it. You got to like time of possession is going to be important. You got to get the defense a breather. Defense has been playing pretty well. Not exactly lights out, but they've been playing well. You got new stars developing. You got your old guys who've been there, who've already proven they can do it. But I just think that if Auburn can run the ball, and I'd say this, tell Jackson where to go with the ball. And if it's not open, throw it away. But throw it. Don't take the sack. 2 reads, max. Don't give him too much. Because right now, tell him where it's going to be open. Tell you until he gets that confidence back. It seems like he has a slight lack of confidence. And I think a confident Jackson Arnold, Auburn wins this game. If you get the game, like if you get Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma versus Alabama last year, Auburn wins this game. You cannot get Jackson Arnold versus Oklahoma or Jackson Arnold against Texas A&M and win this game. You need Jackson Arnold Baylor. If you get Jackson Arnold Baylor, you win this game. The last time Georgia came to Jordan-Hare, Auburn did everything in that game but win. Brock Bowers got hot late. He basically had a Brock Bowers drive himself, and they win the game. But there was no way that Auburn played that well. And during that time, it was a rough time, but Auburn played well enough to win. If you get that same kind of effort, the crowd is going to be insane. This is like, and that was an earlier game. This is a night game. This crowd is going to be raucous. You got the camp, that everything is lining up to be crazy in Auburn. This is probably going to, I would say this is going to rival the Tennessee game as far as atmosphere. The good thing that Georgia has going for them is that they're already battle tested going up to Neyland Stadium. And I think there's a lot to be said for being battle tested, but I just don't think this is. I can see this game going to overtime. I can see this being a really close game. We can get back to the roster. Now I'll tell you something I will tell you something very interesting I heard from an NFL scout personally. I got a buddy of mine that's in the front office. Actually, he'll be a GM one day, is what a lot of people think, but he's a national scout, not a regional. And he asked me, he said, Dukes, right now, if the draft were tomorrow, who's a surefire first rounder at Georgia that's draft eligible? And I'm looking at all the draft eligible guys at Georgia. And this is the first time in a long time that I don't know if they have a draft eligible first round pick. And that's unlike Georgia. Now, you get into like next year and the year after, it's gonna be plenty. But that means that the most talent, and they've got some talent like at linebacker, but that's just not a first round position. Like CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson don't get no better than that. Like I love their linebacker core. If linebackers were valued higher, then yeah, for sure. But as far as draft eligible talent, go up and down. Like defensive line, I don't see a first rounder. Linebacker, it's just not that they aren't good. They just aren't first round talents because of the position. They have first round talent. They just won't be drafted first round. I'm not gonna say what God can do. So CJ and Raylan, you guys could possibly be, but it's not a surefire thing. Secondary, no surefire first rounders that are draft eligible. KJ Bolden will be a first rounder, but it's just not his time yet. Offensively, on offensive line, nobody's draft eligible first rounder this year. I think these guys will be first rounders, but not this year. Tight end, receiver, you just don't have a first round guy that's draft eligible right now. And this is the first time in forever that I can think of a Georgia team that didn't have an eligible first round pick in the middle. Like we knew what Brock Bowers was before he got there, right? We knew what Malachi Starks was before he went, right? You just know. This is one of those years where you don't see it. That's a key. That is key when you talk about roster leveling. When's the last time you saw Auburn have a first round pick in Georgia? Not. Well, Auburn's got one on the defensive side of the ball in Keldrick Faulk, possibly in Connor Lew. And then after that, you got guys who will be first rounders. Like Cam Coleman is Cam Coleman. Eric Singleton has the ability to be a first round pick. Going into the season, Xavier Chaplin was a first round pick on some people's board in the Blesto report, but I'm not sure. There may be a position change on the way. I could see him maybe moving the guard and maybe you go too tall at left tackle. Who knows? But I just think the roster leveling is why you see this spread where it is. This is going to be a great game. So much so, I'll be there. It's my son's birthday. Hopefully, he gets a good birthday gift as an Auburn fan. But, we got a lot of love for Georgia. Of course, I got a lot of family over there. So this is like one of those house divided type things. But as an Auburn content creator, and I also make UGA content, but I said I was going to wait until after this game before I start doing UGA content, just to make it fair because I've been doing Auburn this whole time. I'm getting that feeling. And I've had it before. It's been right sometimes it's been wrong. But I guarantee you, this is going to be a great game. It looks like Vegas agrees. And don't be surprised if you see some Jordan-Hare magic this weekend in Auburn, Alabama. All right, that's my time. Anything else you want to talk about, drop it in the comments. I appreciate it. I am out.